Let me share my screen.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
Where have we been? Where are we going? For the last couple of sessions, Phil has been talking about bidding. And what Phil emphasized was that bidding is a conversation. We try to describe our hands to partner so that together we can come to a sensible contract. As Phil said, sometimes we tell partner something. So last week, Phil talked about auctions that begin with a one no trump bid. Well, when we open one no trump, we're telling partner we have 15 to 17 high card points and we have a balanced hand. Sometimes we ask a question. So if partner opens one no trump and you bid two no trump, you're asking partner a question. In particular, you're asking, do you have the minimum number of points for your bid, 15, or do you have the maximum, 17? And perhaps most importantly, we should always listen to partner. And so to continue with this example, if you open one no trump and now your partner bids three no trump, partner's telling you, I've heard your bid, I've heard you describe your hand. I think the best contract for us is three no trump. And we should listen to partner and we should pass. So as I said, last week, Phil talked about auctions to begin one no trump. Where are we going? Well, this week, I want to talk some about auctions that begin one heart or one spade. That is to say, one of a major. Auctions that begin where you open one heart or one spade are designed to help answer two specific questions. First, do you and your partner together have at least 8 cards in one of the majors? And you can see why having 8 cards in one of the majors is important for determining what contract you want to play. You certainly want to have more trump than your opponent, so you certainly want to have at least 7. And it turns out that 8 is a much more powerful holding than 7. So that's the first question. And the second question is, do you and your partner together have at least 25 points? And we need to talk a little bit about how to count points when we're talking about a trump contract. If the answer to both of these questions is yes, then experience has shown that you ought to bid game. You ought to bid 4 hearts or 4 spades, depending on which suit you've been bidding. Obviously, no one can promise you that you'll always make 4 hearts or 4 spades if you have 25 points. But experience has shown you ought to have a good shot at a 4 heart or 4 spade contract if you've got at least 8 cards in one of the majors and at least 25 points between you and partner. And I think this evening's talk will make a lot more sense if you keep in mind how auctions that begin a heart or a spade try to answer these 2 questions. And we'll come back to these 2 questions several times. And if anybody's got any questions, please stop me. I'm more than happy to take questions as we go along. Okay. So you've been dealt a hand, say you're in first seat. It's your turn to bid. And you look at your hand, and not surprisingly, the first thing you do is you try to figure out, well, how strong is my hand? Is my hand strong enough that I can open the bidding? And to answer those questions, you typically count points. Now, when Phil talked about opening one no trump, he said that we should count high card points. But if you're thinking of opening one of the suits, say one heart or one spade, counting points is just a bit different. You're counting your points in this case will be the total of your high card points and your length points. Now, high card points aren't a surprise. The high card points that you're counting when you're thinking of opening one heart or one spade, you count your high card points exactly the way you counted them when you were thinking of opening one no trump. 4 points for an ace, 3 points for king, 2 points for queen, 1 point for a jack. Nothing new there. But what about these length points? We haven't seen length points before. So how do you count length points? Add 1 point for the 5th card in a suit, 1 more point for the 6th, 1 more for the 7th, and so on. And we'll see lots of examples. We'll see lots of examples of counting high card points and length points. But before we get into that, I want to take a minute to talk about why we would want to count these length points when we're thinking of opening one heart or one spade. And in order to see what's going on, let me ask you to look at a couple of hands. So here's the first hand. Suppose you've got ace, king, queen, and 2 little spades. And partner has 3 little spades. How many spade tricks would you expect to take with this holding?
Probably 8.
At least 3, 4.
At least 3, maybe 4.
At least, actually, quite possibly 5. So how many spades do your opponents have?
7, 9, so they have 4.
Well, we have 8, right? Oh, yep.
They have 5. Oh, yeah, we have 8, so they have 5.
So they have 5. And suppose just for the moment, their 5 are divided 3 and 2. One of your opponents has 3, the other has 2. How many spade tricks will you win in that case?
5.
5.
5. You'll play the ace, the king, and the queen. If spades were divided 3-2, they won't have any spades left at that point, and you'll win tricks with those 2 little spades. Now, you might get unlucky. So if your opponents have 5 cards, they'll divide 3 and 2 a little over 2/3 of the time. So it doesn't take much luck to win 5 tricks in this suit. If you got a little unlucky, one of them would have 4 and the other just 1. And in that case, you would win 4 tricks. And if you got horribly unlucky, and the good news is this doesn't happen to you very often, they're divided 5 and 0. And in that case, you'll get just the ace, the king, and the queen. That okay?
I've been told when that happens, the most important thing to do is you just breathe deep,
Yeah,
because this too shall pass.
it's hard. It's hard to not curse your fates when that happens to you. I
It's the
think it
reincarnate.
happens. The good news is I think it only happens something on the order of 3% of the time. So 97% of the time, you'll be okay. Now compare that to this holding. Compare that to this holding. How many spade tricks would you expect to win this time?
7.
Could be 7, yeah.
You're going to win 7 for sure, right?
Yeah.
You and your partner together have 10 spades. And so regardless of how the remaining 3 spades are divided between your opponents, after you've played the ace, the king, and the queen, they're out of spades. And so you're going to win 7 tricks. And so what's the point of all of this? Length in a suit, in particular, length in a trump suit is really valuable. And so we want, when we're thinking about how strong our hand is, we want to think not just about high card points, we want to think about length as well. And in particular, the way most people count length is they'll take a point for the 5th card, a point for the 6th card, and so on. That okay? Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. I may have told you this. A friend of ours recently was dealt an 11 card suit. She had 11 hearts, 1 club, and 1 diamond.
Wow.
And I did a little calculation of all of this. If you played 50 hands of bridge every week, you would have to play 167 years before you could count on getting an 11 card suit. So that truly doesn't happen very often.
What happened in the bidding?
Partner, bless her partner's soul, came up with the ace of clubs. And so she took won her 11 hearts and her partner's ace of clubs and made a slam. And so not surprisingly, she was persistent. She kept bidding hearts and she just did not stop bidding hearts until they had gotten to the 6th level.
Well, so she only bid 4 hearts though, or made a slam, or did she bid the whole thing?
No, she bid 6. She bid 6.
6.
Yeah.
Well, see, because I just got this 8 cards spade, 18 queen jack, you know.
They don't,
with 2
that
little
doesn't,
ones.
8 cards are rare. 8 cards are rare.
Yeah, but the
I
thing
think
is,
I've
I
only
couldn't
gotten the
bid it.
9 card suit 3 or 4 times in all the days and all the hands that I've played. Okay, so you've sorted your hand, you counted your points, you've counted both your length points and your high card points, and now you're trying to decide: can I open one of a major? Can I open 1 heart or 1 spade? So what do you need? What do you need? You need at least 5 cards in the suit. So you need at least, for example, 5 hearts to open 1 heart. And you need between 12 and 21 points. And so, again, you've sorted your hand, you counted your points. And if you meet both of these criteria, you've got at least 5 hearts, you've got between 12 and 21 points, open 1 heart.
Excuse me, Bob, can I ask a question? So
Yeah,
are
sure.
these
Absolutely.
points, including the length points?
Yes,
those-
I'm sorry.
those-
Thank you.
No, that's not my question. My question is,
Okay.
you need 26 points to open in a major. Do the length points count the same as the high card points?
You mean to
You're going to count
make a
them very
game?
differently, right?
To get to
So
game, yeah, to
you're
get to
going to
game.
sum up. You're going to sum up your length points plus high card points. As we'll see in a couple of bit down the road, partner counts her card points a little differently. And between you, if your total points, and by total points, I include both your length points and your high card points and this mysterious other way of counting for a partner, if that total is 25, then you ought to have a good shot for 4 hearts or 4 spades.
Okay,
That okay?
yes.
Okay. So a couple of comments on this. First of all, 12 to 21 points is an enormous range. So in contrast, if you open 1 no trump, the range of hands that you might have is very narrow. It's only 15 to 17. And so clearly, someplace in this auction, you're going to have to clarify just how strong your hand is if you open a heart or a spade. We won't talk about that this evening, but Phil certainly will talk about it a bit down the road. The other question that might be on your mind is, well, what do I do if I have 22 or more points? This slide says I'm supposed to have 12 to 21. And the answer is you open 2 clubs. This hand is rare. This is a monster. And it's a whole separate topic. So this is going to require a whole session itself. And so this isn't something that we're going to talk about this evening. Okay.
Yeah, I had a question with, I just wanted to know, we're talking about the suits here, but you don't count the length for no trump, right?
That's right.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
that's
okay.
exactly
I just
right.
wanted to clarify, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly right. Yep. Because we're counting the length and just when we're thinking of
Right,
open
right.
one of a suit. Yep, thank you. So let's try this. Suppose you were dealt this hand, looks like a nice hand. How many high card points?
17,
Good, 17. How many length points?
2.
2. So how many points in total?
19.
19. Can you open one spade? Sure.
Yeah.
And you ought to be happy to do it. 17 high card points plus 2 length points in spades, 19 points, open a spade. Let's try this one. How many high card points?
6.
Yeah.
Okay, 13.
Just the high card points in the second example?
10.
10.
10.
There's a handy number to remember. Every suit has exactly 10 high card points. So the ace, the king, and the queen and the jack together,
Makes
whenever you see an
sense.
ace, a king, a queen, and a jack, you can quite quickly remember, oh yeah, that's 10 points. So 10 high card points. How many length points?
2.
1.
One,
One.
right?
One.
One for that
Yeah.
fifth spade.
Yeah.
So 11 points. Can you open this hand one spade?
No,
No,
No.
it's too weak, too weak. So this hand you need to pass. Is that okay?
yes,
More examples. High card points,
13.
13. Length points,
1,
1. Can you open this hand one spade?
yes.
Yeah, it's as literally as bad a suit as you could have.
Come on, Bob. Don't you need to have some
Yeah.
strength in your suit?
No.
Length is key. Length is key. You want to show partner as quickly as you can that you've got 5 cards in a major. It's one of the first things you want to do. It's one of your highest priorities is try to figure out if you and partner together have an 8-card fit in one of the majors. It's one of your highest priorities in bidding. Maybe it's a rancid suit, and this suit certainly qualifies as rancid. You want to let partner know just as quickly as you can.
The partner has Jack 10-9 and they're excited. They've got support.
Yeah. Well, even suppose partner has the 7, the 8, and the 9.
Yeah.
And you wind up playing in a spade contract. And so they've got the ace, the king, the queen, the jack, and the 10. If they're divided 3 and 2, all they're going to get are 3 tricks with their ace, their king, the queen, the jack, and the 10. And so length is key. And so I wouldn't be proud of this suit, but I would say to myself, I've got 13 high card points. I got 1 point for length in spades. I've got 14 points. I'm going to open 1 spade. And as we see in the slide, length is everything.
Bob, can I ask a question
Yeah,
on
sure.
that hand?
Sure.
If you, huh? Oh,
Go ahead.
Mom always said length before strength. Yes, we know.
And
Okay.
length before strength is nice. Yeah, thank you. I hadn't
Okay.
I hadn't thought about that for a long time, but length before strength for sure.
All the time. If you had 11 high card points, like let's 10, like that king was a jack, okay?
Okay.
And you're 1 point for just,
Thanks.
would you open that suit then? Because I wouldn't, but
No, then you'd be down to 11 points, right?
well, you'd have 12 points counting your fifth.
Yeah. I see. With jack and a little instead of king and little.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would open it. I would open it. I
Really
want to let
would.
partner know as
Okay.
quickly as I
Okay.
can. I've got at least 5 cards in a major. And from that
Wow.
point on in the auction, I'd be slamming on the brakes as hard as I could.
Even
to let partner
in
know,
the
yeah,
Audi
okay, I
Odyssey.
opened, but believe me, I am not proud of this hand.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
Yep. This one's let's do
Tacoma
this. How
Tundra.
many high card points?
14.
14. And how many length points?
Dude, how blown is your mind?
So if
Marcus,
Marcus, who are you talking to?
Dude, how blown is your mind?
hey, Marcus,
if everybody could mute, that'd be great. Thanks.
That was Marcus. What is he?
Marcus.
So how many length points?
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Three.
Oh, oh,
So
no.
17 high card points, 3 points for length. This is a terrific hand, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd open this hand one hard. And these two examples together sort of give you a sense of the range of hands that you might have when you open one of a major. Okay. One more. High card points,
11,
11 length points,
2,
2, 13 points, at least 5 spades. And I would open this a hand 1 spade. And this one I wouldn't even be embarrassed by. The one on the left, I think I would be embarrassed by. The good news is if you bid a spade, you're more likely to be declare than dummy. So you don't have to put your hand down on the table and show everybody what you just did. So that's always an advantage of being declare.
Bob?
Yeah.
My Diane Heil. My question is, do you only count high length points in a major suit?
No, no, thank you. Thank you. That's a really good question. No. You would want to count length points in any suit that you were thinking of opening. It's just that this evening we're focusing on majors. But if next week I were to come back and talk about opening one of a minor, and I found myself with a 5-card club suit, I would take 1 point, 1 length point for that point for the 5th club.
So it's the suit that you're thinking of bidding?
Yes, it's the suit that I'm thinking of opening. Yep. Yep.
So
Thank
if
you.
you had
Oh,
5 clubs and 5 spades, you
Yeah,
don't
that's
count.
an interest. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, are you saying you don't count the
Yeah,
extra
so
point for the 5?
the different people are of different minds about exactly this question. So suppose you had 5 clubs and 5 spades, and so you took a point for the 5th spade. Would you take a point for the 5th club? Phil and I would suggest that you don't, but you undoubtedly would find experienced players who would tell you, no, take a point for that 5th club as well. But I for this evening, and I think it's probably the majority of people would say, don't count a point for length in a second suit. Deborah, what do you do?
I do, because I like 5-5 hands.
Yeah, yeah. I can understand. Martha, are you there? Do you take a point?
Or Marcus.
I'm very aggressive and then I regret afterwards.
Yeah. So probably what I would tell you is I don't take a point for the 5th card in a second suit, but then I often sit back and say, gee, should I upgrade this hand? Is this hand worth more than the points are telling me that it's worth, or should I downgrade this hand? And I think I probably would wind up taking the same actions as other people would. But thanks.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
That's a really good question
It is.
and interesting.
So why are we insisting that you have 5 cards in a major suit before you can open 1 heart or 1 spade? Why this emphasis on 5 cards? And I'd ask you to go back to the 2 questions that I posed early on. I said, it's really important for us to be able to figure out whether or not we have an 8-card fit in one of the majors. And it's important for us to figure out whether or not we have at least 25 points. And so why insist on opening 5-card majors? If you promise that you have at least 5 cards when you open 1 heart or 1 spade, it makes it much easier for you and partner to figure out whether or not you have an 8-card fit. In particular, if your partner opens 1 heart or 1 spade and you look at your hand and you have at least 3 cards in partner's suit, then you know immediately that you have at least 8 cards in that suit. You know you have at least an 8-card fit. And so right after partner opens, you often know the answer to the first of these 2 questions. Do we have an 8-card fit? If partner opens a heart or a spade and you've got at least 3 cards in that suit, the answer to that first question is yes. And so we can get that question often out of the way right at the start of the auction.
And does that mean that one can open a club or a diamond with a Ford car?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
absolutely.
that. Oh, great. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't want to we don't want you to be frozen out of the auction. If you've got a nice hand
Yeah.
in terms of points, but you don't have 5 cards in a major, then for sure we want you to be able to open a minor. Minors often are treated as orphans. They just don't get much respect. And so in some ways, when you open a club or a diamond, one of the most important messages that you're sending is, I don't have 5 cards in one of the majors. And so it's not just that you're sending a message, I have some clubs. More importantly, you're sending a message, I don't have 5 cards in one of the majors.
Bob, I have a question.
Yep.
My partner opens 1 heart.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 hearts, but I have 5 spades. Do I tell him about the spades first or go and agree on the
That's a
hearts?
good question. But let me ask you a question about let me answer it in a couple of ways. If you have a blah hand, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points, I would raise hearts immediately. It's really important to let a partner know that you have a fit.
Okay.
And with a blah hand like that, and we'll talk about responses in just a couple of minutes. With a blah hand like that, I'm not going to bid very often. And so I want to send an important message to partner. I like your suit. We're okay. We do have 8 cards. If I've got a really nice hand and I know I'm going to be willing to bid several times, well, then maybe I'll show them the spades and then eventually I'll get around to showing the hearts. There's another old saying, and I think this one's a good one, support with support. When you've got support for partners major, go ahead and support partners major. Okay.
But the comment to Deborah's question is, if you have a pretty good hand, then would you bid your suit that you have 5 cards rather than letting partner know that you have support for the bid that they just made?
If I had 5 cards, in the other major, I probably would be willing to show it.
Got it.
If I had a good hand. But if I had the sort of hand where I'm going to take 1 bid and that's all, it's just not much of a hand to brag about, then I'm going to do the thing that I think is most important. Show partner, we've got an 8-card fit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. So I had never heard this quote before. Phil gave it to me. And it's a quote from Marty Bergen. And Marty Bergen is one of these legends of in teaching. He really is. And the quote is, the best bid in bridge is a raise of partners major. Once you hear partner raise your major, you've opened, say, a heart, and partner raises your hearts That's just a really good message to get. You've answered the first question, do we have an 8-card fit? Yes. And now we can start worrying about the answer to the second question, do we have 25 points between us? And so an auction that begins 1 heart, 2 hearts is a great auction. It's not an even better auction is 1 heart, 3 hearts, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's just really, it's music to your ears when you open a major and partner raises your major. And again, it takes us back to these 2 questions. When your partner raises your major, you've answered the first of these 2 questions. And you ought to let partner know. You ought to tell what you're telling partner. If partner opens a heart and you bid 2 hearts, you're telling partner, great, we have at least hearts. We have at least 8 hearts. Let's go figure out how much strength we have.
Bob, aren't you also giving a point range? Aren't you saying
You
I
are.
have
You
6
are.
to 10?
So you've answered the first question. We have an 8-card fit, and you are moving us along towards answering the second of these questions. Do we have at least 8 points? And we'll see that in I think, yeah, in maybe not the next slide, but the slide after that. But yeah, for sure. You're not just saying I have hearts. You're saying I have hearts and I have a hand of particular strength. Yeah, for sure.
Would you ever open a longer minor over a major? Say 6
that's-
wonderful diamonds over.
That's a very difficult question. I mean it sincerely. I think most experienced players are likely to tell you that if you're dealt 6 of a minor and 5 of a major, to open the 6 of the minor. But you will find lots and lots of experienced players giving you the different advice. That's a hard question. It really is. A much easier question is, what do you do if you're dealt both majors? That's a lot easier. And again, it's because there is this very well intentioned, for very good reason, bias in favor of bidding majors over minors.
Thank you.
Yep. But that's a hard one. Okay. Okay. You've heard your partner open one of a major. And the question is, what should you bid? So you are now responder. Well, one of the things you're going to need to know is, how strong is my hand? You count your points as responder a little differently than you would if you were thinking of opening one of a suit. And so to count your points, if you are going to be a dummy, assuming you have support for partner suit. So if you have at least 3 cards in partner suit, then you want to count shortness points. And so what the heck are shortness points? Well, high card points aren't a surprise. They're the standard 4, 3, 2, 1. What are these shortness points? Well, remember, if you're dummy and you have shortness in a suit, say a singleton or a doubleton or a void in a side suit, not the trump suit, a side suit, well, then declarer, your partner, may be able to rough some of her losers with your trumps. And so your hand is more valuable as dummy if you have shortness in a side suit. And again, what do I mean by a side suit? Your partner opens a suit, say hearts, you have at least 3 hearts, you have support for hearts. Suppose you have a singleton or doubleton in clubs or diamonds or spades. That's what I mean by a side suit, a suit other than trumps. How many points should you take? The standard is 1 for a doubleton, 3 for a singleton. And then different people count voids differently. But I think the standard is, if you have at least 4 trumps, then take either 4 points if you have 3 trumps, 5 points if you have at least 4 trumps. The more trumps you have, the better off you are. The more cards partner, more cards losers partner will be able to rough in your hand. But again, you only count these shortness points if you can support partner's suit. And by support, I mean at least 3 cards. That okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So this.
How many points do you have to have as responder?
Yeah, we'll talk about the answer is 6 to 10,
That's what I
and we'll
thought.
talk about it in just a second.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to give you a trick question, I would ask you how many points your partner has opened, and I could give you a trick question. How many points does this hand have? And it's a trick question because I didn't tell you what your partner
Mhm.
opened.
Might be
So you've
clubs.
got 9 high card points. If your
Yeah.
partner has opened a spade or a heart or a diamond, well, that's a singleton club. That's great. If your partner has any clubs, she can rough them with your trumps. And so in that case, I've got a great hand and I'll take 3 points for that singleton. But if my partner opens a club, I can't support clubs. And so that singleton then is not valuable. So how many points do I have? Well, if partner opens 1 club, this hand's worth 9 points, the 9 high card points that I have. But if partner opens a diamond, heart, or a spade, this hand is worth 9 points, is worth 12 points, 9 high card points plus 3 shortness points for this singleton club. So shortness is only valuable if you can support partner's suit. That okay with everybody?
Yep.
And we'll see lots of examples in just a second. Okay. One aside, you really shouldn't count a singleton a high card both for high card points and shortness. So if you have a singleton queen, it would really be overstating the value of it to say, well, a queen's worth 2 points and a singleton's worth 3 points, so that's 5 points. I would recommend strongly against that. That would really overstate the value of a singleton queen.
That's double dipping.
That's a good way to, thanks, Deborah. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. So you're charging 220 a month, right?
Can somebody mute themselves? Thanks.
Okay. Suppose you hold this hand. Good, partner opens a heart, and you look at this hand, and you say to yourself, well, I've got a heart support. I've got at least 3 hearts. And so how many points do you have then? How many high card points do you have?
7.
7. Any shortness points?
No.
No, this hand's perfectly flat. It's 4, 3, 3, 3. So this hand has 7 points. And you ought to bid 2 hearts with this hand. So what do you need to for a simple raise from 1 heart to 2 hearts?
6 to 10 points.
6 to 10 support points.
Yes.
And by support points, I mean high card points plus shortness. So a simple raise from 1 heart to 2 hearts tells partner, I have at least 3 of your suit. So we have a fit. We have at least 8 cards and hearts. And I have between 6 and 10 support points. So we've answered if the auction begins 1 heart, 2 hearts, we've answered the first question. Do we have an 8-card fit? Yes. Do we have 25 points? Well, we haven't sorted that out yet, but we're moving along in the right direction. You've told partner I have between 6 and 10, and partner then can start trying to figure out whether or not we have this 25 high card points that we need to bid game.
It's
that
also called total points, support points.
Total points. Thank you. So opener is counting high card points plus length points. Responder is counting high card points plus shortness points.
So Bob, if the person opened with 12 points in the 12 to 21 points plus 5 cards in the suit,
Right.
if you respond by going from 1 to 2 in the suit, even if you have 10, that means only 22 points.
Good. Yeah, exactly. And so if you are opener then, and you've opened and we'll see lots of examples of exactly that sort of hand. If you have the bare minimum for your opening bid, 12 points, and you hear partner raise to 2 hearts, well, then you know at most you have 22 points between you. So game is out of the question and you should pass.
So why is there such a wide range in the 12 to 21 points? Why do they allow the low 12 and 13 points to even kind of come into this, since they're not going to get you to game?
Well, because partner might have something quite a bit better than the 6 to 10 points.
So partner might
And-
not bid 2 hearts, they might bid 3 hearts.
They
or
might
something.
bid 3 hearts, for example, and we'll talk about what a 3-heart bid would look like.
Thank you.
Bob, this is Carol. I have a question. I thought for support, it was, you had the weak, intermediate, and strong, like it was either, I think it was said in a lecture, or maybe it was on Bestie Bridge, 6 to 9, 10 to 12.
That's a good way to think
50.
about it. And so you could think about it as weak. I have support. I could have a weak hand, an intermediate or invitational hand. You could use either term, or a strong hand. And so all we've talked about at this point is if you have support and your hand is weak. But we are going to talk about what you do if you have the intermediate hand. And just for a second, we'll talk about what you do if you have the strong hand.
So
But
weak,
that's
weak
It's
is
a nice
not,
way to think about it.
weak is not 6 to 9, it's 6 to 10 then?
You know, yeah. If we went out and polled a bunch of experienced players and they asked them, what's your range for a simple raise? I think the majority would say 6 to 10, but a significant minority would say 6 to 9.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, there's some things where I think there's fairly broad agreement. A no trump is 15 to 17. On this, it's 6 to 9. Some would tell you 6 to 10. As long what's really important is that you and your partner are on the same page.
Okay.
It's somewhat less important exactly which page that is. As long as you and your partner agree, okay, we're going to raise from 1 heart to 2 hearts with 6 to 10, then you can adjust your bidding to take that into account.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
There have been times when partner and I have not been on the same page. We haven't even been in the same library. Sometimes
how
it's
many
hard to believe
years?
we're playing the same game. But we try. Okay. Whoop. Any minute now. I'll be
Why
able
does
to.
it say
There we go.
silent? That's
Okay, so what's a typical auction? Typical auction might go a heart, 2 hearts. And if you've got a weak hand, you'll just pass. And so, and this is the auction that someone suggested a minute ago. You open a heart, partner says 2 hearts. If you've got 12, 13 or 14 points, you don't have 25 points between you. So just pass. Just pass. You don't have a chance for game. On the other hand, at the other extreme, you open a heart, partner bids 2 hearts. It's possible you'll bid 4 hearts because you might have 19, 20, or 21 points. And even if partner has the minimum for her bid, 6 points, you've got 25, could have as many as 27. If you, I'm sorry, if you've got 19, you could have as many as 29. But clearly in this case, you want to jump to 4 hearts because you're certain that between you and partner, you have game. So just as responder might have a weak hand, an intermediate hand, or a strong hand. Well, this first auction that I've shown, well, that's what opener would do if opener has a weak hand.
Mhm.
This second auction that I've shown is what opener would do with a strong hand. What about the intermediate hand, the invitational hand? Well, if you're not sure whether or not you have a game, you could ask partner a question. You could ask partner, are you towards the top of the range for your bid? Do you have 9 or 10 points? If so, please bid 4 hearts. Or are you at the bottom of the range for your bid? Do you have 6 or 7 points? In which case, please pass. And so partner in this case is saying, please bid if you're near the top of your 6 to 10 points, otherwise pass. And these are the 3 most common ways an auction is likely to develop once the auction begins. 1 heart, 2 hearts.
So Bob, are you assuming that you can bid for a major with 25 points? I mean, originally when Deborah taught us, she said 26 points.
I put that question, I put my answer in the same category. I put my answer, does a raise to 2 hearts show 6 to 9 or 6 to 10?
Okay.
Some people would tell you 25 is fine. Others might tell you that 26 is what's required. Depends a little bit on how aggressively they're counting points for short suits. So are they taking 5 points for a void, or are they taking 4 points for a void? I really can't sort out
Got it. Thank
what
you.
the right answer is for that one.
Okay.
I have to say this, when you're getting started, it's not crazy to be a little bit conservative. And so it wouldn't be crazy to lean towards 26 points instead of 25 when you're getting started, because you know, all of us when we got started, and we still do, of course, for that matter, but a little less often, you know, a trick gets away from us. You know, maybe the hand, if you played it extremely well, would make 10 tricks, but a lot of times we'll just won't play the hand for everything that it's worth, and we wind up with just 9. So it's
Well,
okay to be a little bit.
I don't think I've
conservative
ever
when
played a
you're
hand extremely well yet. So,
I disagree with you, Lee.
well,
Your
thanks.
time will come.
Yeah, I disagree too. I've seen Lee play, so.
Thank you. Yes.
Good.
There's confirmation now, Lee. So you're not getting away with that.
Okay, I'm going to try and change my mental state then. Okay.
That's good.
Okay. So we've talked about what is involved in raising a major from 1 to 2. What about raising a major from 1 to 3? What do you need in that case? Well, with a hand like this, you should bid 3 hearts. So what do you need to raise to 3 hearts? You need at least 4 hearts, and you ought to have 11 or 12 support points. And again, by support points, I mean high card points plus shortness points. And so this hand that I've shown here, this is a good example of the sort of hand where you would raise 1 heart to 3 hearts. And again, the requirements are at least 4 hearts and 11 or 12 support points.
But I thought the thing was that you want an 8-card fit and 20
Yeah,
points.
this is an excellent question. Okay, I'm trying to figure exactly the best way to explain this. If you polled experienced players, they would all tell you, no, we require 4 cards support in order to bid 3 hearts in response to 1 heart. And if you then ask these experienced players, well, wait a minute, I thought we were looking for an 8-card fit. What if I have 11 or 12 points and 3 hearts? So I know we have 8, at least 8. Why can't I bid 3 hearts? And there's a couple of possibilities at this point that what they may tell you. they may tell you, yeah, I have other ways of showing 3-card support. And there's a pedagogical question here. Sometimes when teachers will teach people initially, oh, it's okay to raise with just 3 and 11 to 12 points, but then you have to unlearn it, because there really is a difference between 3 and 4-card support. And so experienced players will have a way of showing, differentiating between 3 and 4-card support. But in the end, they will show this 3-card support, just not right at the beginning. And pedagogically, I'm not sure which is the best way to teach things. But this has the advantage of you won't have to unlearn something and learn to do it a better way later.
So
Yeah,
it's
I have-
really, if you only have 3, it's really 6 to 12 points that you bid to, not 6.
No, 6 to 10 and 3-card support, bid 2.
So if you have 3 cards
11 or
support and
12
12
with
points,
4-card support, bid 3. With
And what do you do
11
in
to
between?
12 and 3-card support, do something else that Phil will discuss probably in about 2 weeks down the road.
Marcella, I think you've got something on that's causing an echo.
Yeah, I have a question.
Does somebody have 2 devices on?
Yeah, and if
Marcella.
everyone can mute who's not talking,
Marcella.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, now I have a question.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to know if it made a difference, like, okay, so you're supposed to have 4 cards if you're gonna double, you're gonna go 1 heart to 3 hearts, for example. But would
Yeah.
it make a difference if you, like you said, sometimes there's this convention that you only have 3. So would it make a difference if you had 3 good hearts? Like a queen or a jack and 10, or you know what I mean, good supporting hearts? Would that
No,
make?
no.
It's just- okay.
Really the key here is
Okay,
the number
yeah.
of trump. And to be honest, the difference to try to explain the difference in the way hands play with a 9-card fit versus how they're likely to play with an 8-card fit, that's a pretty advanced topic. And Phil lays it out this way, and I think that's a good decision. It helps you develop this habit right away, of looking, of restricting this raise to 3. It's often called a limit raise. To the case where you have 4 hearts. The drawback is, though, you have to learn a way to show 11 to 12 points with 3-card support. And again, Phil, I think, is planning on talking about that about 2 weeks down the road.
So I'm
Okay,
glad you
yeah.
called it a limit raise, because that phrase gets thrown around and people, it's good to know what that means.
Yeah, that is a term that you're going to hear often. So bidding 3 hearts in response to an opening bid of 1 heart, that's a limit raise.
I'm sorry, what does that mean again?
Limit raise is a raising partner's opening bid from 1 to 3. So if I open a heart and you bid 3 hearts, you've made a limit raise.
It's a bizarre term. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because all
But
of our
it
limit our
is,
hands.
it is what it is, and
Yeah.
you'll hear it.
Oh,
And
so
and you have them, oh, I'm sorry.
If I have 4 support and 10 points, I would just go to 2 hearts, right?
Yes, yes. If you have to, if you only, because you need 11 to 12 to make a limit raise, to raise from 1 to 3.
Thank you.
How is the auction likely to go? Well, it's a very precise description, right? A raise from 1 to 3. It's very
Yeah.
precise. It's got a range of just 11 to 12 points, and partner probably knows right away where this hand belongs. If partner has a dead minimum for her opening bid, partner passes. So if partner opened that 12-point dog we talked about a while back, where the trump suit was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then partner just passes. More often than not, the auction goes 1 heart, 3 hearts is an invitational bid, it's a limit raise. Partner will accept your invitation. So if partner has at least 14 points, partner says, yeah, that sounds good. Let's try for game. Let's play 4 hearts.
But if you have good hearts and let's say you have the 12 points, then you know you're at, if they opened with 13, you have good 12, that's 25. And if you've got good hearts, you wouldn't just say 4 hearts then?
Well, 13 is going to be a nasty number, right? Because if partner has just 11, then you only have 24 points between you. But if partner has 12, you've got 25, and there's no way to sort that out. But as you go along, you're going to get better and better and better at evaluating hands and looking for all sorts of features of a hand that tell you, well, this is 13 points, but this is a really good 13-point hand. Or, this point hand may have 13 points, but I don't like it at all. And so you'll start to develop a sense of what to do with your 13-point hands. And then once in a blue moon, every once in a while, partner's got a fabulous hand. Remember, partner could have as many as 21 points. Well, if partner really does have this 21.1 heart opener, and you tell partner, I've got 11 or 12, partner is going to be looking for slam. So partner is going to be thinking, we may be able to win all 12 or even all 13 tricks. And so slam bidding is a whole nother topic that deserves a session itself. Okay. All right, just a couple things. I want to finish up really quickly, and then we can take a break. Every once in a while, you get a hand that looks like this, the one up on the screen. So you've really got very few high card points. You've only got 4 high card points. But but you've got this singleton spade, so you've got shortness, and you've got a boatload of trumps. You and partner between you have at least 10 hearts. And when you have a hand like this, very weak, but terrific distribution, shortness, and lots of trumps, that's when you raise from 1 heart to 4 hearts. And so this is the hand you bid 4 hearts with. Very weak, lots of hearts, good distribution.
Does your partner know it's weak?
Again, this is the standard agreement about what a raise to 4 hearts means. But in a new partnership, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to compare notes and make sure you are on the same page. But this is the standard meaning of a raise from 1 to 4.
How many would constitute a lot in that suit?
At least 4 for sure, and 5 would be better. So it's a weak hand with very good distribution, singleton or avoid, and lots of hearts. A dead minimum of 4, 5 would be better. This kind of hand is often called a weak freak. And so the weak freak is just as we've described it. And you raise partner's hand, you raise partners from 1 to 4. One of 2 good things could happen. One thing is, it could turn out that the hands fit really well and partner's got a nice hand, and you do have 9 or 10 hearts between you at least. Maybe partner can figure out how to make this contract, even though you have very, very few high card points. That could happen. The other possibility is your opponents have really good cards. They may have a terrific fit in spades in this example, and you've made it very, very hard for them to find their spade fit because you've taken up an enormous amount of bidding room with your 4 heart bid. Okay, so I'm going to pass over a few things. So this is the recap. 6 to 10 points, at least 3 hearts, raise 1 heart to 2 hearts. With 4+ hearts, 11 to 12 support points, raise partner from 1 heart to 3 hearts. And with the weak freak, at least 4 hearts, 5 hearts would be better, and a singleton or a void. So that's a summary of the basic responses. Now, before I'm going to take 2 seconds to talk about one other slide, and then we'll take a break. We left several questions unanswered. And so let me talk about these unanswered questions, but not try to answer them. Sometimes partner will open one of a major, say 1 heart, and you have a hand that just doesn't fit with anything that we discussed today. So here's a hand, it's got 7 high card points, but you can't bid 2 hearts. You've only got 2 card heart support. So we don't, at this point, we haven't talked about how to handle that kind of hand. We haven't talked about how to handle this hand, but this is one we've talked about. You've got 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 high card points and a point for the doubleton. So you got 12 point support, but you only have 3 hearts. Well, what do you do with that hand? Well, we haven't talked about that. And then finally, every once in a while, partner opens 1 heart and you've got a fabulous hand in support of heart. In this case, you've got 4 card heart support. You got 19 support points. Well, this hand is too strong for 2 hearts. It's too strong for 3 hearts, and it's certainly too strong for 4 hearts. So what do you do in that case? And these are all topics that I'm going to kick down the road and that Phil's going to address in the upcoming classes. But we certainly haven't answered all the questions you might have about an auction that begins one of a major. But we've touched on some of the important things to be thinking about.
Hey, Bob, could you go back to that recap slide that you scurried by? And also, is there any homework?
Not, I don't think so. I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
The homework, Lee, would be, let me just add, for those of you who have Best eBridge.
Go ahead.
For those of you who have Best eBridge on your computers, then you could practice major suit openings.
Got it.
And there's some good ones in there, and probably we'll do some of those on Saturday.
Okay.
So here's the recap slide that I went by pretty quickly.